presentation of what the University of Law is, and then I will leave to the presentation of Carl Gillen, who is director of Themis Bar Review in the USA. I'll try to share my screen. Let's see. Let me see. Yep. Can you see it? I hope you can.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So yes, a very quick and brief introduction of the University of Law. We are quite an old institution, as you can see. We trace our origins in the 18th century. And it's interesting that since the beginning, it was established as the Law Society School of Law. So the Law Society in the UK needed courses effectively, and preparation courses for the law societies were held at the School of Law. A lot of time passed since then. We are now a full authorized and recognized university in the UK and internationally. We have more than 20,000 students and quite a big network of alumni all over the world. It's more than 100,000 in more than 150 countries, again, all over the world. And the other specialization, I would say, of our university is that we work very closely to law firms in the UK mostly, I have to say, but also internationally. This is a very interesting timeline. Again, we started in the 18th century, as you can see, and there is one very important date over here, which is 2012, when the College of Law was granted full university title, becoming the University of Law. A couple of years later, we were acquired by Global University Systems, and we had effectively from that point onwards, so in the last 10 years, I would say, a very important expansion internationally. And the partnerships, for instance, with ILAS, sorry for my voice, the partnership with ILAS is dated a little bit more than 3 years ago, actually, and now it's renewed for the next 3 years. We are working in several locations internationally and nationally. We have a lot of associates and branch campuses in the UK, as you can see from this slide: Birmingham, Bristol, Guildford, Leeds, Bloomsbury, Manchester, Nottingham, Newcastle, and a lot of partnerships with other prestigious universities such as Exeter, Liverpool, Reading, Sheffield, and Southampton. During the last years, we thought that within the preparation courses that we have, it was absolutely needed a course preparing students for the US bar examination. This was absolutely crucial. We had inputs from the market from this point of view, and we decided at that point to start working with one of the most important providers of this preparation course for the US bar examinations in the USA, which is Themis Bar Review. We have a very good partnership with this company, and from this point of view, the joint partnership with ILAS, Themis, and ourselves grants the students a very good structure, I would say. And by now we are absolutely very happy of what is going on. It's now the 4th year we are working together, And so far we have, I would say, very good records from this point of view. The students are very happy, effectively. So we are very happy to continue from this point of view. I don't want to bore you more with this. The only important thing I am saying, everybody, is you get in touch, very easy to talk with us. We are not just little things on a screen by now, or just a voice in the cell phone. We are real people. We understand uh, what's going on locally. We are very happy to solve issues, problems, and any kind of questions you might have. So please do get in touch, either at the University of Law and obviously at ILAS Education. And I think that's all from me by now. And I'm happy to pass to Carl for his presentation about the course itself. Actually, thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Guido, and thank you, Reagan, for giving me the opportunity to present to ILAS today. First off, can everybody hear me and hopefully see a screen that should have a purple slide to start off?
Yes, we can.
Is that good? Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, as Guido mentioned, my name is Carl Gillen. I am the Director of Institutional International Partnerships and Candidates with Themis Bar Review. I'm a New York licensed attorney, and I've worked in the bar preparation industry in the US for the past 23 years. As you may hear from my accent, I am not from the US. I am also a foreign-trained attorney, originally from Ireland, so very familiar with the English common law. I practiced as a solicitor in Ireland, came over to the US and took the bar exam over 20 years ago. So I'm going to talk today, first off, give you a little history of Themis Bar Review, a company that was founded in 2008. When it was founded, it had 10 employees, left the biggest company here in the US for bar preparation, and formed Themis, and had less than 100 students in its first program in 2009. Now we are the second largest provider in the US with over 75 full-time employees and about 21,000 students on average in our 2024 programs, which is approximately 40% of the market share taking bar exams across the US. Themis Bar Review was acquired by UWorld. UWorld is sort of a world conglomerate education company. That happened in 2020. They're a Dallas, Texas-based company. I should have said that Themis Bar Review is originally a Chicago, Illinois company, acquired by UWorld, and UWorld prepare students in the US for medical licensing exams, pharmacy or chemist exams, nursing, high school, graduation school, accounting, financial exams, and now also for bar exams in legal by acquiring Themis. When Themis was founded, it set itself apart by what we call the 4 Ps, and our collaboration with the University of Law in the UK fully is represented by these 4 Ps, where we created the best product on the market at a very fair and transparent price, able to publish pass rates every year in every jurisdiction to back up that product. And because we are an online asynchronous program with a full tutoring service backed by the University of Law, we do provide this individualized, personalized service to every single candidate in our programs. So today I'm going to talk about bar exams in the US. I'm going to talk about New York and California specifically. New York is part of what we call in the US the Uniform Bar Exam. I'll explain what that is. California is not its own state. So I'll talk about the different jurisdictions in the UBE Uniform Bar Exam, talk about the format of bar exams, subjects tested on the exams, and this number of 60% and 25% will generally around 6,500 to 7,000 foreign trained candidates take bar exams every year in the US. And of that 60% take New York on average, 25% take California, and then the other 15% is different states that some foreign attorneys take, like the District of Columbia, DC, Colorado, Massachusetts. There are some other states that Texas is another one that foreign trained candidates may have a connection to and want to practice law there. And then after I speak about bar exams, I'll turn it over to talking about how our collaboration with the University of Law works, how the program is set up for your success on the exam. So the National Conference of Bar Examiners are a private corporation in Wisconsin that write the Uniform Bar Exam, meaning states that have adopted the Uniform Bar Exam, like New York, get all the questions, essays, performance tests from the National Conference. So there's no state-specific law tested on bar exams within the Uniform Bar Exams. It's all generic law, what we call majority law, a lot of it being the common law, based on the common law, but it's the same law in each jurisdiction. That means that when you pass a bar exam in one of those jurisdictions, you're able to transfer your score to another jurisdiction and potentially practice law there. So, for example, as a foreign trained attorney, you can come over and take the New York bar exam, become licensed as a New York attorney, and then 5 years later get an opportunity in Chicago, Illinois, the third biggest city in the US. Illinois is also part of the Uniform Bar Exam, so you could transfer your score from New York into Illinois and become a Chicago licensed attorney. There are a growing number of these UBE jurisdictions. We're up to 42 presently, but again, California is not one of them. And each state has their own passing score, ranging from 260 to 270 out of a scale score of 400. So it's generally around 65 to 66% is passing the bar exam on any one of those jurisdictions. My next slide shows a map of all the jurisdictions that have adopted and are part of the UBE. Most jurisdictions up and down the East Coast, with the exception of Virginia and Florida being the two biggest ones there. And then again, most other states across the United States, with the one big exception being California. The California Board of Law Examiners test their own exam. They are not part of the Uniform Bar Exam, meaning if you become a licensed attorney in California and you want to transfer to New York, you would have to take the New York Bar Exam after the California Bar Exam, and vice versa. If you started off in New York, 5 years later, you got an opportunity in California, you would still have to take the California Bar Exam after taking the New York Bar Exam. Bar exams in the US are on the same days every year, the last Tuesday and Wednesday of February and the last Tuesday and Wednesday of July. So you cannot take more than one bar exam on the same date because they are on the same dates in every jurisdiction. Traditionally, bar exams in the US are 2-day exams, meaning the first day we'll talk about in more detail is what we call the essay day, which is made up of essays and a longer type of essay called a performance test. And the second day of the bar exam is the multiple choice component, the biggest 10 subjects in law school, equally split over 200 multiple choice questions, where you're given a fact pattern for each question, 4 answer choices, and you pick the best option of the 4 answer choices. A little bit more on that later. So the first day of the bar exam, whether you're taking a UBE jurisdiction or you're taking California, is the essay day. On the UBE, you're going to have 6 very short 30-minute essays. In California, you have 5 one-hour essays, but California also tests local state distinctions to some generic common law rules. Generally, in the UBE, you're only going to see 1 subject per essay. So you will see a torts essay or a contracts essay testing majority principles of law. California, you may see multiple subjects on one essay. And then both jurisdictions have a performance test component. On the UBE, there are 2 performance tests. They're a longer style essay where they give you a file of materials and ask you to draft a legal document based on those materials. California tests 1 of these performance tests. New York and the UBE tests 2 of those performance tests. And both states, whether New York or California, that local first day is worth, or the essay day is worth 50% of your bar exam. The second day is the national day of the bar exam. So at the start, I mentioned that the UBE writes, the National Conference of Bar Examiners writes the essays and multiple choice questions used on the bar exam. They also grade the second day of the bar exam. They don't grade the first day of the bar exam. They will send scoring grids and recommended scoring rubrics to the different states, and the different states grade the essays. So even though the National Conference will write the essays for the UBE, the New York Board of Law Examiners grade the New York essays. The DC Board of Law Examiners, the Illinois Board of Law Examiners grade the Illinois essays, etc., and California writes and grades its own essays. However, the second day of the bar exam, that national day, the 200 multiple choice questions, is used in every jurisdiction with the exception of Louisiana. Louisiana, being a Napoleonic civil code state, has not adopted many of the subjects that are tested on the MBE. So that second day of the 200 multiple choice questions, that's also worth 50%, is used in California. So California and New York both have the same second day of the exam. They just have a different first day. 100 questions in the morning, 3 hours, 100 questions in the afternoon. A very time pressurized component of the bar exam, because you have on average 1.8 minutes, which in sort of layman terms is 1 minute and 48 seconds per question, to read the fact pattern, shortish fact pattern, read the 4 answer choices, and pick the best answer. And that MBE day is also worth 50%. So the essay day in New York, 50%, MBE day, 50%, essay day in California, 50%, MBE day, 50%, to get you to 100% of your bar exam over 2 days. Now let's look at the subjects tested in general. So the MBE day, where I mentioned they test the largest 7 subjects, are traditionally the subjects that are required in the US. If you were doing a 3-year JD, 3-year law degree, you'd be required to take those 7 subjects in the first 18 months. Those subjects are double tested on both the UBE and on California, meaning on the essay day, you will see many of the essays also test those same generic, multi-state, common law-based subjects. The essay day then also adds in, if you're looking at the bottom left of this list, subjects like agency, partnership, corporations, family law, trusts or decedent estates, wills, subjects that you will not see a multiple choice question on the second day. They're not tested on the second day, but you could see an essay or part of an essay on the first day. So for example, when I mentioned that the UBE likes to test single subject essays, you may have a torts essay that has 4 issues in the essay. Well, you might see maybe an agency issue in a torts essay, respondeat superior, vicarious liability, the liability of an agent in torts. That's where you may see more than one subject in an essay. And then California also has its own specific topics added to the essays, where you could see an essay on community property, a subject not tested on the UBE, or professional responsibility, a subject again not tested on the UBE. And also in the subjects of evidence and civil procedure, where the UBE and the MBE day requires you to know the federal rules of civil procedure and the federal rules of evidence. There are the same rules in every one of the 50 states. California also requires you to know those federal rules, but California has its own state-specific distinctions in the areas of evidence and civil procedure, where the rule is different in California than what it would have been in the federal rules. That's where they test extra law in California. Let's talk a little bit about actually applying for the bar exam before we talk about how the program works. So the first thing, anybody coming from overseas to take either the New York bar exam or the California bar exam is you have to submit your foreign credentials to the state bar of either state, California or New York, to have them evaluated so that you are eligible to take the bar exam. Now, everybody's eligibility is a little bit different, and everybody comes from different countries all across the world. But in general, if you are a licensed or a practicing attorney in any country in the world, you're eligible to sit for the bar exam. If you have a full 3-year law degree based off of the English common law, you're eligible to take the New York bar exam. But again, you have to submit your credentials to have an individual determination, and you can go on to either bar examiner's website to start that process and it's usually about 9 to 12 months. That's on the comfortable side. We've often seen candidates get a determination within 3 to 6 months. So then the New York or California bar examiners get back to you and say, yes, you're eligible to sit for our bar exam. If you're taking the July bar exam in New York in any year, in 2025, 2026, you apply for the test itself between March 1st and March 31st of that year. $750 to take the exam. You pay that to the bar examiners, and then you have the option, and nearly everybody does, of typing their essays on the exam, not handwriting, and there's an extra fee for doing that. California give you your determination. You're eligible to take the bar exam in July. You have an April 1st deadline with late filing available. And for the February exam, you would have a November 1st deadline with late filing also available. California bar examiners charge approximately $850 to take the exam. And then you also have a character and fitness fee to pay to California. And again, that optional laptop fee. And then there's one other component that we'll talk about a little bit later. I'll mention it now. The MPRE, it's the ethics component of the bar exam. It's 60 multiple choice questions just on the area of professional responsibility. And it's required in every state to become a licensed attorney in that state. You do not have to take the MPRE before you take the bar exam. You can take it after the bar exam, but you cannot become a licensed attorney in that state until you've taken and passed the ethical requirement, the MPRE. A little bit more on that later. So the methodology behind Themis and our collaboration with the University of Law is based on what is called the cognitive load theory, where you have a lot of complex information, as we talked about, 15 to 20 subjects, depending on which exam, that you have to get into your memory. First of all, into your working memory to understand that material, but then commit it to long-term memory over the length of the program, so you're in prime position for the 2 days of the bar exam to know as much law as you will ever know in your life. In our program, our program is designed to be done completely asynchronous online, where we're with you every step of the way, and you can do it in up to 10 months before the exam if you're able to put in as little as 10 to 15 hours a week. That can be shrunk down to 5 to 6 months, but it's a little bit more time consuming at the end if you're going to shrink it down. So for the July 2025 exams, we're going to have a September 2024 start. February 26th exams, We're going to have a May 25 start, etc., etc. You have up to 10 months, and depending on how many hours a week you can study, we've seen students in as little as 8 to 10 weeks studying 40 to 50 hours a week, but are able to take the program in full and prepare for the exam. So that means that you do not have to start 10 months in advance. The program will fully adapt. It's customizable every evening to you, depending on the amount of time you have to take the exam. We'll talk about our main course features or segmented lectures, how that works. We'll talk about our MBE component. Remember that 200 question exam that's worth 50% in either jurisdiction. We have over 4,000 practice questions available. Every student gets a dedicated essay grader that will grade your essays for you, give you critique and feedback. Because we are asynchronous online, you have a real-time progress tracker of how you're doing in comparison to our Themis and University of Law goals, and how the peers in your jurisdiction are doing as well. And then you also have access to individuals, foreign trained specialists that will advise you and set up study strategies with you throughout the program, as well as the tutoring service provided by the University of Law on top of that. Here's just an example of what one of our course outlines would look like in constitutional law. So as you can see, we're based on a lot of visuals for the learner that likes to see things, not long sentences necessarily that go on, ramble on and on. So very nice, succinct outlines. We have full outlines. This is an example of a condensed final review outline. All our outlines are in printed format. So you're going to get a box of books no matter where you are in the world. And then you have access to online outlines that are fully searchable. So if you only want to review the outline in a subtopic of the law, you can type in that subtopic and it will come up immediately. Another example on this slide of pictures, graphs, diagrams throughout the process. So it's not just reading the material. There are our outlines. And then in Themis, in our collaboration, everybody chooses a start date in Part 2 access, and the program will pedagogically give you a set of assignments to do every day based off of 10 to 15 hours a week if you're starting 10 months in advance, and then a little bit longer weeks if you're starting sooner in relation to the exam from that. The program is fully adaptable. The syllabus adapts nightly. So if you do not finish assignments on a given day, it completely adapts and recalibrates every night to make sure that you can efficiently complete all assignments in the program. That's our dynamic calendar. The brain science behind Themis initially is that the student of today, the candidate of today, learns better in shorter increments. So we have truncated our lectures down to chapters or subtopics in the law. So for example, formation of an offer or acceptance of an offer, as you can see from this screen. Every chapter or subtopic is generally 5 to 25 minutes in length. So you really are focusing in the lecture only on 5 to 25-minute chunks to make sure that you understand the material that is covered in that part of the lecture. Each lecture has a lecture handout. This is Professor George Geis from the University of Virginia. Each lecture has closed captions in English, so you can put up the subtitles. And you can also slow down or speed up the lecture because it is fully asynchronous online. You can watch it at your own pace. And if there's an area of the law that you are familiar with, you can speed it up a little bit or you can slow it down. And on the next slide, I'm going to give you an example of one of our lectures. So again, just to reiterate the learning style and our collaboration, you have the reading and writing element to it, but also students who like to hear the law and can process the information that way. The kinesthetic flashcards, being able to flick over a flashcard, and then the psychometricians behind Themis and New World really emphasize the visual aspect of seeing visuals and being able to process that, and that 90% of information received by the brain is visual, and that we can process visuals a lot quicker than other means of soaking up the material over that long period of time. Like I said, each professor provides a handout along with the lecture to help you distill the information. This is twofold. You're not trying to take pure dictation and write everything down so you can't focus on actively learning while you're watching the lecture. And also, you have to, on the other hand, write some of the information in, type some of the information in, so that you are focusing and paying attention during those chapters of each lecture. All handouts are available in printed format for every student. So if you like to handwrite your notes, you're just going to open the book and handwrite right in there. And they're also fillable PDFs online in the system, so you can type directly into the handout. And then after each chapter, that is 5 to 25 minutes, you're going to have 4 to 5 assessment questions, just black letter law questions. These are not bar exam questions. These are just questions to make sure that you understood initially the content that was covered in that 5 to 25-minute chapter. So now you've gone through all the materials for the law of contracts, we'll say, for an example, and now you're ready to start practicing questions. We remember every student has access to over 4,000 questions. You can do questions in what we call time mode or in tutor mode. In time mode, you're replicating exam conditions and trying to do 17 questions in 30 minutes or 34 questions in an hour. In tutor mode, every time you submit an answer choice, you will see the reasoning, whether that question is the best answer or not. You can strike out answer choices. You can highlight directly within the online portal. You can flag questions for future review as you go along and do each question. And then when you do the question, you're going to get detailed feedback as to why your answer choice was the best one or not, and why the other 3 answer choices are not the best answer choice. And then every question also has a visual explanation or a one-sentence educational objective for what was relevant in that question. All Themis and University of Law students also get access to UWorld Supplemental MBE QBank, an additional 2,000 questions built in that really resonates in the last 6 to 8 weeks before the exam, when we have identified your individual strengths and weaknesses, and we really work on remediating those weaknesses. If you figure out that you're weak in the area of offer and acceptance in contracts, you can just do questions in that area of the law with those visuals and educational objectives as well. So that's our MBE program. Another example of a picture explaining the answer choices to a particular question. Over 4,000 available. Essays. Everybody within the program can have as many essays as they wanted, graded by their dedicated essay grader, who will provide critique, feedback on scoring on those essays. We assign 20 in the program, meaning we want to force you to write essays earlier to make you a better essay writer. If you remember from earlier, the UBE essays are 30-minute essays. They're very short essays. California are a little bit longer essays. The essay prompt is on the left-hand side. You type in your answer on the right-hand side. And as soon as you type submit, you're going to get a sample Themis model answer, and then within 2 business days, critique and feedback on your individual essay from your attorney grader, your dedicated essay grader, that if you're taking the California bar exam is a California licensed attorney. If you're taking the New York bar exam is a licensed attorney in a UBE jurisdiction. that can grade and write and provide critique. What we call redlining essays. In fact, on this slide, it's the light blue would be the grader's comments. The black would be the student's answer to the essay. Another feature of the program is, because we're asynchronous, you have real-time feedback as to how you're doing throughout the process on your overall progress to 100% completion, what your suggested pace per day would be, and how much you've completed on an individual day. And then all the assignments within the program on the left side here outlines lectures, MBE questions, essay questions, exams, practice exams. You can click on each one of those to drill down even further into your own individual progress. So for example, on MBE questions, there's the 7 subjects tested on the MBE. The student was doing fantastic at 75% correct, an average time of 1 minute and 36 questions or 36 seconds per question, and had completed over 1,400 practice questions. But then you can go subject by subject as to how they're scoring, and subtopic by subtopic. So you were doing 70% overall in real property, but in ownership, you're doing very well, and you weren't doing as well in landlord and tenant law, 50% completion here. So then you can really work on remediating landlord and tenant by choosing only to do landlord and tenant questions in the UWorld supplemental QBank that is included in everybody's course with our collaboration with the University of Law. Everybody needs a personal success team. It's a foreign trained specialist who will help you throughout the process, the tutorial service provided by the University of Law, and also any study strategies, guidelines to get you through the process. You can reach out at any time to us. And then my last couple of slides, few questions that we get before I take any questions from the chat or online. Everybody gets a full box of books. So yes, you get all the materials replicated in printed format as well as through the portal online. You have access to your essay grader if you don't understand comments on your essays. You have access to our consultative team of attorneys if you don't understand the substantive law. You have access to your foreign attorney specialist who will guide you and give you strategies throughout the process. And remember, those graded essays in phase 2, when you begin to start studying your essays, you will get those back within 2 business days. I mentioned earlier the ethics component of the bar exam is required to do either before or after the exam. You can test drive it with Themis and our partnership with the University of Law. Everybody can have access to the free MPRE materials. They're online. Remember, it's a 60-question test offered 3 times a year. You pay $160 to the National Conference of Bar Examiners to take the MPRE exam. That has nothing got to do with us. New York requires a passing score of 85 scaled. That is 85 out of 150. That is not 85%. Generally, of the 50 questions that are graded, 32 to 35 correct out of 50 gets you to that 85 required in New York or 86 in California. Again, offered 3 times a year. You can do it before or after the exam, and the material for the MPRE is completely free. You can sign up for a free account for that. And then finally, let's talk about pricing with our collaboration. £4,550 for 2025 courses. And remember, every student in our collaboration with the University of Law gets access to the UWorld MBE QBank supplemental app that retails in the US at £500, but fully included at no additional cost. Contact information earlier, Guido had provided information about if you're interested in enrolling. Our lead UK tutor, Matthew Nash, his contact information is on this slide. My information here from the US is also, and then our general email address for any Themis and University of Law related questions. So at this stage, I'm going to again thank Reagan for giving me the opportunity to present to ILAS today. Thank Guido for organizing the call. And I hope you found this information helpful. And I'm here to take any questions and be a resource to you throughout your opportunity of eventually getting licensed and practicing law in the United States.
Thank you very much, Carl. Questions, people? I know it's a whole lot of very new information, engaging information. You entering a different system compared to what you have been exposed to so far. But we welcome any questions that you may have, please. Of course, you can post them in the chat, or you can absolutely ask them live. We welcome that. Or you can reach out to us after if you wish. I know some of you may prefer that after you have digested what was shared. But in the moment, any questions? Sean, you have a question?
Yes, hello, good
Good
day. For someone who just completed Angular Ruskin degree, LL, could you apply with that degree only? Without any LPC?
Okay, thank you for your question, Sean.
Just so I'm clear, and Guido, you might have to add here, is that degree a 3-year law degree based on the UK common law?
It is.
Yes,
So,
3 years.
yes, exactly. So from this point of view, I would say that is eligible. It is eligible. But let's not forget what Carl was saying in his presentation. If you have any kind of doubts from this point of view, yes, of course, you can contact us. But the best thing is to contact directly the New York bar examination effectively. So when you are sending your documents and your documentation to see if you're eligible, they will give you an official answer to your questions. So again, yes, but do remember to ask them before.
So short professionally, yes. We've had another question from Yolande. Yolande, welcome. Yolande is asking, are there any special visa requirements for the US to sit exams?
To sit for the bar exam, no. It's just about the relationship between your own individual country and the US. You only technically would have to be in the US for the 2 days of the exam. So many foreign candidates come in on a tourist visa or whatever other visa is available from your country just to enter the US in general. If you were going on a vacation or a holiday, you're eligible to take the exam that way. And then I also put the 2 websites in the chat for starting the process of getting your credentials evaluated. Back to Sean's question, generally remember you have to be a licensed attorney in any country to take California. So you may not be at that stage yet, but with your 3-year law degree based on the UK common law, you do not have to be licensed. You just have to have fulfilled that educational requirement to take the New York bar exam.
All right, lovely. Keep the questions coming. This is your opportunity. Michelle, no questions? Nigel, Nikisha? Savannah, no questions?
No, sir, not at this moment.
All right. You're welcome, Yolande. Okay. Well, most of you have my email address. I did post another one in the chat. If you want to speak to us, I know some of you may be shy or otherwise waiting to digest everything said today so that you can formulate your questions. I understand that. So if you wish, you can reach out to us at ILAS. We can provide you with some preliminary information. And of course, Carl posted some important contact information there as well as some websites that you can access to have things clarified. But I know it's a multi-step process, including the exams with separate components. So I know it takes a while, right? Let's see what's in the chat here. Okay, thank you, Nikisha. ULaw, can you repeat the pass rate? Okay,
the pass rates are individualized by state and of course country you're coming in from. But from our calculations for students that have taken the partnership with the University of Law or collaboration coming from a common law jurisdiction, they're passing at about a rate of 80%, 80 to 85%. To pass the exam, it's about 65 to 66% on the exam itself, but students in our program are passing first time at a rate of about 80%. And also, which we didn't mention, we don't like to talk about if a student is unsuccessful, but if a student is unsuccessful on the bar exam, they get to take our program again at no additional cost.
Okay. Thank you very much, Carl. Ethan is asking a question I think you just answered in part. She's asking, what happens if you're unsuccessful on your attempt? Are there restrictions on resits?
No restrictions on the states, as long as I've heard of maybe California, somebody not passing for 7 or 8 attempts and then they stop letting them take the exam. But generally that doesn't happen when students are unsuccessful the first time. We really work with them to identify their weaknesses to make sure they're successful on that second attempt. And generally most then always are. And remember that second attempt with our collaboration with the University of Law is provided at no additional cost. It's part of the initial fee that you pay if you need to take it for a second time because you were unsuccessful. There's no charge.
All right, excellent.
I would also like to remember that here at the University of Law, we have a tutor who is Matthew Nash, actually, and he's following very closely each and every student, which means there are a lot of sessions with him and a lot of questions and answer sessions as well. So this helps a lot, I would say, well, overall during the 9 months duration of the course, but I would say especially towards the end of the course when the examination approaches and a lot of questions, obviously, and a lot of anxiety sometimes comes from the students. So that really helps a lot.
All right, thank you, Guido. Thank you, Carl. Any more questions, people? No? All right, well, I do look forward to receiving your questions after the session. I know how it goes sometime, and even after that, but I will post this session to a page because many persons who wanted to join weren't able to join because of the timing, and we will endeavor to have another session within a few weeks or so. But let me thank Guido for being here with us today and for organizing this. Special thanks to Carl for your very clear, well-paced and structured presentation. I feel as you provided some insight into how the course will run. So thank you very much for that. And thank you very much everyone who attended for your questions. And we look forward to you pursuing this option. Very viable option. I know many of you wish to either wish to do business in the US or wish to migrate there, or for some other reason you want to be called to perhaps the New York bar. So again, contact us, or you can of course make contact with Carl directly or with the University of Law. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone. And I will see you soon, or rather we might chat soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending.
All right, take care.